with Tracy Mommy Reads. I am back again with another video. Today, I am so excited to talk about this book. It is a book that I have been waiting for, seems like forever, at least almost a year it seems like. And ironically enough, as I mentioned about series on the channel, it is a part of a series, and it is the final book in Kennedy Ryan's Skyland series, and it is called Can't Get Enough. And again, the cover, like this is the third cover that was just so incredibly beautiful. And this is the series that follows the three friends, Yasmin, Soledad, and Hendrix. So this is Hendrix's book. And as you can see, I had a lot of feels while reading it, and it was just such an incredible story. Let's get into it. Okay, first of all, if you're not familiar with the series, shame on you. You should get into it. All three books are standalone, so you don't have to read all three of them. But again, these type of books that are standalones but connected to another series is really cool when you get Easter eggs, or you get kind of caught up on what characters from the previous stories are doing. So just from that standpoint, so you won't be too lost, I would recommend it. I think all three are worth the read. By far, this one is my favorite in the series, as you'll see as we go on and I start gushing about it. I will tell you that, all three of the stories have they're romance stories at their heart, and it's about these three women finding love, rekindling love, second chance at love. And while the first two, I feel like, because in the first book, the characters divorced and then they got back together and they had a family and everything. So, there's the seriousness, I guess, of that, of a, divorce and family breaking up and trying to put all that back together. And then in the second one, there was some issues with her husband and there was a divorce, and, her kind of having to start over with her children and everything. So there was some depth there as well. But I feel like with Hendrix's story, it hit a little bit closer to home for me, because when the story started off, which I was not expecting, Hendrix's mom has Alzheimer's, and she's kind of at the beginning-ish stages of it. And my mom, she suffered from dementia before she passed away, and it is just really gut-wrenching to watch, especially if the person was such, if they were like a strong person or a feisty person, or someone that had a lot of life in them, and then they just kind of become a former a shell of them former selves. And that part, I will say, it caught me every time off guard, and had my heart clenching, because I could relate to it. So be forewarned. We'll jump to an early trigger warning. If you have a parent, or or you currently are a caregiver for someone that is experiencing Alzheimer's, and you are there firsthand to witness those highs and lows, that lucidity and that lostness, and everything, as they start to retreat further into themselves. She goes there in this book, and it's a very realistic portrayal. Obviously the whole book isn't about that, but it's a big part. It's her mom, and she's an only child, so there's that entire relationship and everything that's going on is a big part of how she's operating, and there is a part where she goes to live with her mom and her aunt for a while, because her mom has an older sister that has stepped in because she has grown children that are out of the country, and her husband's deceased, so she steps in pretty much as a primary caregiver. But Hendrix's mom, I think, is 74, and her sister is 77, so you still have that aging parent thing where someone that old probably are not in the best position to take care of someone, with that kind of condition. So, that's the only part of it that was kind of like, oh, everything else was just, it was funny, it was steamy, it was, all the things, and you got all the feels from it. But yeah, it starts off with a gut punch, So basically what we have here in this story, and I was really concerned about how she was going to pull this off, because, and I'm going to take some pieces from the blurb on the back so that I don't spoil stuff for you guys. But so Hendrix, like I said, she rounds out the trio of the three friends who have these books. Hendrix Berry, she is she's in like public relations and talent management and entertainment. That's where she works and where her career lies. And she has a client that won a reality modeling show, and they're like trying to put together like her own show where she, can be the star of it, and it's like another reality show. And she's teamed up with this former model who's now producing shows, and her name is Zere, I think. Zere is how you spell it. But Zere has a boyfriend, and his name is Maverick Bell, who is the main male character in this book. So going in, I'm like, wait a minute. So Hendrix, her, potential person is already with somebody that's like a close associate of hers. How are we going to work that out? But it's quickly explained in the beginning of the book, like Zere and Maverick's relationship is pretty much over. Like, it's over. It's not like Hendrix comes in and she breaks them up, because I was concerned about that, because I didn't want that to be the case, to have that kind of foundation. But as far as Zere was concerned, or Z as they called her, it may as well have been the case, because she didn't really, she hadn't really gotten over Maverick before, him and Hendrix kind of moved on together. So that was a little nasty little situation, between the two of them. But the thing that I was so excited for about Hendrix's story, she was the one in the group who was kind of anti-love and didn't really believe in all that, and you just used people for what you needed them for and moved on, and my career is the most important thing to me. She's very much that girl, right? And you just, I was just wondering, how is she gonna soften her a bit, put her in her soft girl era and allow her to see that, love is not a bad thing, and that here's somebody that you can actually depend on. And I feel like Maverick was the perfect person for her. And it doesn't hurt, that he was handsome, fine, and close to billionaire status. All that stuff also helps. But he was also very, sensitive and kind and very attuned to her needs. And one of the big things I think that initially got Hendrix to break down her walls is he went through the whole situation with someone that he loved having Alzheimer's. His grandfather, his maternal grandfather, had it, and he saw firsthand as his mom stepped in to be a caregiver for his grandfather, everything that she went through, and how he lost himself. So he knew what she was going through, and he wasn't like trying to, like a lot of times when those type of things are happening, people who aren't going through it, that have never been through it, like they want to find comforting words, but a lot of times the words they say aren't comforting, because it's not going to be okay. It's never going to be okay, ever, because that is a degenerative disease, and it often ends in death. And you're watching this person just spiral into, like I said, a former shell of themselves, and you basically just have to come to see it as a new normal and kind of start preparing yourself for where this is going. And that's hard, but he just let her know that he was there for her. He gave her practical advice, like maybe joining a group of people who were going through what you're going through right now, where you can vent and really get out what's happening. Because even though she had her girls and they were there for her, their parents didn't go through that. They didn't understand that. So having people who are in the throes of it and doing it, the work right now, he recommended her maybe joining a group. Now I will say her friend, and this was the first time I'd heard of this. I mean, it seems like common sense, but her friend Soledad, if you read the last book, she's like basically a little Miss Martha Stewart. She cooks and bakes and organizes and does all this type of stuff. Well, she came over to Hendrix's mom's house, and she pretty much like a version of baby proofing the house, but for her mom, you know, making sure that things like, for example, a frustrating thing could be if someone like Hendrix's mom, she was used to baking and cooking. And if you're in a kitchen, that all of a sudden you have this moment where, number one, maybe you don't know where you are, or you can't remember where anything is. It's very frustrating, and it can make you just really spiral. So they like organize the cabinets so that everything, if you're making cupcakes, the flour, the baking soda, the icing, everything is the cup, the little liners, the pan, everything was right there. Like, you don't have to go to this drawer and this cabinet and this thing, which that makes so much sense. You know, putting maybe certain kind of locks on doors so that they can't open the doors and go outside. Just like really handy things that kind of would allow you to not have to worry about, or that you may not even be thinking about, because you're looking at the big picture of how you can, you know, keep this person safe. But yeah, so like I said, I mean, so it's a lot of that woven into the story. So just be prepared. But through it all, just watching the relationship between Hendrix and Maverick blossom, because even though there's obviously this initial attraction, I feel like they developed somewhat of a friendship. Like, their chemistry was very believable beyond, oh, I want to, you know, be with this person in a lustful way. Like, they really talked and really understood each other, because, you know, like I said, Hendrix was a career girl, and by any means necessary, and she did what she had to do, and Maverick was very much like that. And the thing that was so funny to me about him is that his dad used to be a basketball player, and so he lived most of his life in Las Vegas because he played for his dad played for a basketball team in Las Vegas, and so he really had the mentality of like risk, you know, because like Las Vegas with the casinos and everything, and that's how he had amassed his fortune and gotten so far ahead in business. And he treated like his pursuit of Hendrix the same way, you know, because he didn't like to lose, basically, you know. So even when she was like, listen, you know, I'm trying to do a show with her, you know, she's an associate, a friend, and this just isn't cool. You guys broke up 2 months ago, and this just can't happen. And he just was like, we're not together anymore, me and her. So am I not expected to move on? And he said that, because at one point Z found her another man, but I think she was doing that just to make Maverick jealous, which it did not work. But you know, once Hendrix told her like, hey, I'm thinking about actually being with Maverick, yeah, like I said earlier, it did not go over well. But he eventually broke down her defenses, because there were times when, you know, the things were happening with her mom. There was some stuff going on with her business, where they needed an investor, and he stepped up. There was some other stuff going on with somebody was trying to sue them, and he stepped up, you know, and it started becoming a thing where whenever she was having a bad day, or she needed to vent, or she wanted to cry, he was the first person she called, you know. And when that kind of thing starts happening, like, you don't even hesitate. Like, I got good news, I got bad news, I got in-between news, and this is the first person I want to tell. That's very telling of how you feel about that person, right? I will tell you too that just like, no, I don't think it was the case in the first book, but I know in Soledad's book, that was the slowest burn of all burns, okay? That book was such a slow burn, which it made sense because she was, you know, going through a divorce and basically having to rebuild her life, and she had 2 daughters. So for her to have jumped into something with Judah so quickly, we would have been side-eyeing the whole situation. But I feel like in this book, and I know Hendrix, because she was trying to do the thing with the show and, you know, trying to have a girl's code or whatever, it was a slow burn, but not really, because they were still like getting together platonically and having that relationship build that way. But I have a note here. I think it wasn't until page 205 of this book that they even shared a first kiss, okay? And there are, how many pages in here? I guess that was halfway through, because there are exactly 419 pages in the paperback. So I don't know if it's formatted differently if you read it electronically or have a hardcover. But yeah, 205 pages before even a kiss in a romance book. That's crazy. But So very worth it. So very worth it. Let's see. There was a little side thing going on. Maverick had this assistant. I can't remember the guy's real name, but they called him Bolt, and he just seemed like he was so anal retentive and such type A personality, right? And Hendrix had an assistant. Her name was Skipper, and that was like, I think, actually her real name. And all these people are black, so there's that I thought was hilarious, first of all. But Skipper was very, organized, and she, kept Hendrix straight. But she was also, it sounds like her personality was a bit more flighty and eclectic, But her and Bolt, oh my God, they had this like oil and water thing, but also this passionate attraction, and the way they talked to each other. That whole scene when they first appeared in the book was hilarious. I mean, they were outshining what was going on between Hendrix and Maverick at one point, and I was like, we need an outtake of that. So Miss Kennedy Ryan, you need to give us a little novella with Bolt and Skipper, because I need to know more with those two crazy kids. And as you can see, I flagged a lot of pages. And most of the time when I do that, it's either something like memorable dialogue, memorable imagery, incredible quote or something. And that was the case with this book. I mean, there were just so many things in here that made me laugh, smile, brought me almost to tears. It just was a very rich story, very deeply layered, just so much going on that but at the same time, there was a lot going on, but it was never too heavy. I mean, I read it within 24 hours, not consistently, but I got it the day that it came out, and I finished it the day after, right? So that's what I mean by 24 hours. It was like every time I was able to pick it up, I picked it up. Okay, after I took a break or did things around the house or ran errands or whatever, I came back to it okay, where were we? I got to finish, Maverick and Kennedy's story. And, a friend of mine, she said something that kind of echoed how I felt. She said, I wish I wouldn't have read it so fast. Me too now. But this is one of those books, at some point, I might reread it or kind of, again, go back through some of these pages that I flagged and kind of remember the passages and one-liners and dialogue and things like that I enjoyed so much, because there was so much. There was so much that I enjoyed. I'm trying to find something in here that I can share with you guys. Oh, this is something that I thought was interesting, because this was the first time I'd heard this take. And I'm sure a lot of you have heard, Black Girl Magic, that whole thing, and Black Girls Are Magic, which I feel to some degree we are for various reasons. However, Hendrix said that she didn't believe in Black Girl Magic. And this is what she said. We are not magic, she says. And she's talking to Maverick. We are resilient. It's not a wand, it's work. We work harder and shine brighter to survive. Excellence for us has been a matter of necessity. In a climate where less than 0.5% of venture capital funding goes to Black women, women founders still perform 63% better than all male founding teams in the first round. With those odds, we can't leave our success to chance, and we for sure can't depend on magic. And this whole, to give you context, she has this fun with some friends, not Solar Daddy Yasmin, but some other business friends, where they try to give funding to Black women startups, who have these great ideas, but they can't get funding for whatever reason, and that was her take on Black Girl Magic. She's like, we do what we have to do. And that made me think about, I'm going off on a tangent here for a second here on the soapbox. There was a woman, I can't remember her name, but it was a short clip that I saw, and she was talking about how, and you can do the stats on this, in the United States, Black women are the most educated by degree. We have the most in our demographic, they have the most college degrees, bachelor's, master's, and even PhDs. We are the most highly educated segment of the United States population. And a lot of us are working in fields that truly, honestly, don't even require all of that education. But guess what? It's what gets us in the door. It's what gets us in the door. We could do the job without the degree, but we wouldn't even have a chance at the job if we didn't have the degree. Now, y'all let that marinate. Okay, let me get off my soapbox. But yeah, it's so much like pro girl, pro black girl, pro relationship, pro soft girl. It's bouncing around in this book. It was just everything. And I just loved it so very much. I just can't remember anything in here that turned me off or was like, why did that happen? I mean, I think some people might be turned off by Maverick had a very masculine energy and ego, and like I said, he didn't like to lose. So some people may have thought, oh, he was coming on too strong, but the way that he did it, it was never. He always did it like seriously with looking at what Hendrix needed first. And I think he was just like coming from a place of he wasn't going to allow her fear to push him away or to, disregard what she really needed. He let her see that it was okay. You can fall and I'm going to catch you every time. And I think he actually said that to her. So that was very swoon worthy. One of the last lines that in the book, when they finally got together or whatever, because he, like I said, he had a lot of money. He bought her little things throughout, but it was never anything like, oh my God, he spent $20 million on something. But he told her this. And if this does not convince you to go pick this book up, I don't think anything will. This man said to her, I want my love to be the most extravagant gift I ever give you. Okay, goodbye and good night. Thank you for watching. I mean, come on. You can say it's cheesy if you want to, but to say that and then to have your actions actually match and back that up, incredible. Again, with the trigger warnings, a lot of mention of Alzheimer's, and Maverick lost his mom. He didn't lose her in the book, but it's still very fresh for him and his dad. So there's death of a parent. I don't want to say that the thing between Z, Maverick, and Hendrix was really a love triangle, because he actually broke up with her, like even before he started pursuing Hendrix. But if you have ever been in a situation where maybe someone close to you, and not even a best friend, because they were friendly associates, because they had this client in common, and like a friend of a friend introduces you to somebody and you become cool with the person. But if you've ever had a situation like that where somebody, ended up with the person you wanted and it made you feel a certain kind of way, then you may not want to, read this. It may open up some old wounds. But yeah, the theme was on point. Again, didn't happen until after page 205. And I loved also, I can't stop talking about stuff that I loved, but there was a scene where she wrote where they went to the Waffle House, right? Just doing some just normal down to earth stuff. It was like they had these lives that they could afford to do anything and afford to go anywhere or whatever. But I feel like they were still very grounded people, which I feel like gave a bit of realism, to everything that was happening. And again, we get an update on what's going on with Yasmin and her, family, Josiah and the kids, and Soledad and Judah and, their kids and what's going on with them. So it was good to see that. So yeah, I'm, kind of sad to see this series come to an end, but I feel like it was done perfectly. Anything else or to try to come back except with that outtake of Bolt and Skipper. I'll be waiting on that. But anything else will be too much. Like, sometimes you got to go out on top, let it ride, start your new project. And that's what I'm hoping that Kennedy Ryan does. So anyway, if you have read Can't Get Enough, let me know your thoughts in the comments. I mean, geez Louise, it was so good. It was so good. I really, really enjoyed it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure that you like this video. And if you have not taken the opportunity, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. And for all of you who have already subscribed, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm trying to get to that 2,000 before the end of the year. So make sure that you share my content with, anyone that you think may enjoy it. Thanks again. You guys enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I will see you next week. Bye.